What's up everyone? Today's video, I'm gonna give you 5 tips to stop overspending and stick to a budget. We obviously have a spending problem here in America. I wanna help to stop that because I know it doesn't feel good when we're overspending. It just doesn't feel right inside because we're just constantly not able to get ahead and it's really frustrating. These 5 tips will really give you a solid strategy to put in place to help you finally stop overspending and stick to a budget. You can call it a spending plan, you can call it whatever you want, but it's just really creating a plan for your money. Step number 1 is track your spending. This is a very, very important step because if we just write down what we want to spend, not what we're actually spending, we don't know where the disconnect is. So take a look at this video if you need some help with tracking your spending, but that's gonna be step number 1. I like to use the app called Spending because it's really easy, it's free, and it offers a nice little pie chart and all that stuff. I'll put a link to that below if you wanna check it out. I did a challenge on Instagram last month to track your spending and I tracked mine because it's been a few years since I've done this and I know that I've gone like off balance with my spending. So I wanted to reassess. I think it's really important to do for a while until you get into a really good habit and know how your money is flowing. But if you take some time off from tracking because you've gotten used to it and you kind of know, eventually you're going to need to revisit it and see if you're still doing okay. And I mean, your bank account can tell, right? If your money is increasing or decreasing, that's going to be a sign you're either spending too much or you're not. So revisiting this every so often is really helpful. I've gained some clarity over this last month in what I've spent. I would not have been able to do it had I not tracked my spending. This brings us to step number 2, which is to categorize your spending. If you've done it in the app Spending, then it just automatically does it, or different apps will track your categories if you place them there. If you've tracked manually, then you may have to go in and come up with an overall picture, like I've spent this much here, and just come up with these categories so you know how much you spent in different areas of your life. Step number 3 is to review these categories. Now, you're gonna need some time. I just wanna call this like having a Zen moment with your finances, because really it comes down to your feelings inside with what you've done over the past month. So as you look at your spending, just really ask yourself, how do I feel with the money that I've spent in this category? And not just ask yourself, but to pay attention to how you're feeling internally. See what feelings are stirring up. If you're feeling negativity, that's a warning sign, right? Like there's something not right with this category. So you need to say, okay, I don't feel comfortable spending this much here, and I wish I had done more in this area. That could be something that you're saying. Go through those and really give yourself some time to assess how you feel with each category. Are there categories where you feel like you wasted money, or maybe it just wasn't put to good use? Or maybe are there categories that you wish you could add into your budget, but you haven't been able to? Step number 4 is to use the information that you gathered in step 2 and 3 and put together an ideal spending plan. What would make you feel better about these different categories? For me, I definitely want to reduce money on food, and I'd like to spend more money on my business so I can really expand. When you're coming up with your ideal spending plan, be realistic, but also don't be afraid to make big changes. If you've got some categories where you're just bleeding money, that can be stopped and it might take some big changes. So don't be afraid to do it, and just remind yourself that these changes are so temporary, because once you get caught up and get some money in the bank, then you can relax a little bit and have much more financial security in your life. But on the other hand, do try to be real with yourself, because if you're spending a ton in one area and you just drastically cut it, it's gonna be a fad diet type of situation where maybe you can stick to it for a week or two, but eventually you're just gonna say forget it and go back to your old ways, and that is not what you want to do. So if anything, just start out slowly, make little cuts, and start adding that to your savings account or to your other categories where you do want to spend more money. Step number 5, and this is so important, is to come up with a plan for how your lifestyle is going to change to accommodate for these adjustments that you're making. For myself, I want to spend less money on groceries and food in general. That means I need to create a list. So starting this month, I am not going to the store unless I have a list, because what happens to me is I get in there, for the couple things that I need, and then I'm like, oh, I need this, and oh yeah, I could use that. And then pretty soon it's like $100, and I'm like, did I really need all this stuff? I don't know. But one thing I know is I always end up spending way more money than I plan to spend, and probably because I don't actually really have a plan when I go to the grocery store. So for me, my lifestyle change is I'm gonna create a list, and I'm gonna be intentional when I go to the store, and I'm gonna stick to my list. But whatever your changes are, come up with a plan of how you actually are gonna achieve that goal. Because it's one thing to say it, but then if you have no adjustments that you're making in your lifestyle, it's gonna be really hard to maintain that long term and actually stick to your budget. Those are my 5 tips to help you reduce how much you're spending every month and also stick to a budget finally. I know it's really hard to stick to a budget, so hopefully these tips will help you. Oh, also, along with your lifestyle changes, I think it's really important to continue tracking your spending. And I would say set aside some time every week. I would say do this on Sunday at the end of the week before a new week starts, and review what you've spent over the past week. Put that into a worksheet and then see where you stand for the next week. And every single week do this so that you know if you're staying on track or not, because what can be measured can be managed, and you can make some adjustments over time. But if you're not watching this on a regular basis and tracking your spending, it's going to be really hard to see results over the long run. I would say continue tracking for at least the next 3 months after you start this so that you can really see where your money's going, and it doesn't take much time. Once you're used to tracking, it's just really quick and you're not even going to think about it anymore, and it's going to help you dramatically in seeing results and watching your savings account grow or your travel budget grow or whatever it is. You're going to really start to see some changes if you implement these practices. So let me know in the comments below why you've struggled to stick to a budget in the past, and if you have any questions or ways I can help you, I'd be happy to. And other than that, I will see you on the next video. Bye.